Yo, what up, guys? It's Doug here. Earlier, I put out a post on Facebook about Q&A. Ask me any questions you want. I'll give my perspective or angle on it. And I really want to get a lot of views, so I got that booty shot in the video. So hope you guys like that too. Out here doing a little sunbathing while the chemtrails are at a minimum. And I hope you guys like my hair too. I'm just full of it today, right? So I'm just gonna read them off and kind of touch on each thing. There's quite a few, and I might have to make a couple videos. But first one: what daily practice do you see as the most beneficial for people to have in their lives, and why? All right, I would say I can only speak from my personal experience and what personally works best for me. So, start with meditation, getting grounded, getting balanced. It's just a really, really good way for me to start the day, to be able to work through the stress of the day, or whatever comes at me. It's like water under the bridge or whatever. Yoga's a really good one. I've been working with a multitude of injuries, and so a yoga practice really aids in balancing my musculoskeletal system, core strength. Once again, it's a meditation at the same time. The breath is so important, that deep breathing. And so yoga is also really big on that. Crucial: meditation and yoga. And who asked this question, I'm pretty sure, you're feeling the same way about that too. And, what tops it off is fasting, really. I mean, the intermittent fasting. Try to push your fast, whether you're going dry until the afternoon or just on liquids. Try to push it into the early afternoon. The body heals when we give it a conducive environment, and fasting is that environment. The pH is balanced. Your body's not fighting to maintain the pH levels. Well, especially when dry fasting. With water fasting or juice fasting, that's different. But I've been experimenting with a bit of intermittent dry fasting, and it's so powerful for healing the body. It's like taking a dirty sponge, wringing it out, and rehydrating it with something that's complementary to the body. Like clean water. Let's just say you're wringing out the sponge and putting clean water in it. And so I would say it's like the fastest way to heal. Meditation, yoga, fasting. And then the other one: do what you love to do. Find a passion that drives you and do it every single day. Some outlet or form of creativity that will help open up your emotional body, let the emotions flow through you. So we're not, holding on to that baggage, where it might turn into binge eating, which will lead to the physical baggage. It all comes from, a less dense form down to the dense form. So if somebody's carrying around a lot of weight, they're carrying around a lot of water, they're carrying around a lot of emotional baggage. And so, once again, you see where that's going. This is one that I was like, oh my gosh, man, it's like, how am I supposed to answer that? Difference between soul and spirit. So, thought about it a little bit. I would say spirit is like your true essence. Like that is like the oneness of God. That is like the pure, God form. And then that's going to be like the highest echelon. That is like the closest connection that you have to God. That is just like the pure essence. And then the soul is basically that individualized expression of spirit or self. So the soul is kind of what drives our physical vessel. It's the will, it's our energy. It's like the energy that's within us. Could also be thought of as, when they say connecting to the self, or I like to call the soul the subconscious. So that might be like the subconscious. And so yeah, they're very similar, but I think one's just the soul is the individualized expression, or the spirit is just like that pure divine. And it's like with souls still have growth, and they still have lessons or experiences put forth by Sugmad or God to grow and develop and have it, for experience itself. And so soul's kind of like the energetic vessel that we get to ride around in my opinion or experience or whatever. Let's see. How about to herbs or not to herbs in a wormy stage of elimination? Let me get into this one. I had to ask a couple of questions. And I was wondering if we ever living in a mucus pus world, always exposed to parasites. Okay, so should we be using herbs when we still have physical parasites inside of us? And can we ever physically get rid of all of them? I haven't gotten rid of all of mine, although I just eliminated a little family of worms last night after intermittent dry fasting, juice fasting, and enemas. So I can't say if we would ever get rid of them completely. I imagine so, yes. And I highly recommend herbs while you still have parasites. I mean, the herbs are some of the most powerful tools for eliminating those parasites. Think about the black walnut. Think about the wormwood. I really like Parasite M tinctures with lemon juice enemas. Like Dr. Morse has a formula, or you can make your own. That's got a ton of great anti-parasitics. You just put a dropper full in your enema, and worms coming out. So, in my experience too, parasites, worms, are what drive us to do some of the crazy things that we do. So the quicker we get them out and clean up the terrain, because the terrain is the cause, the worms are the symptom, or the parasites are the symptom, the easier it will be to connect to self, to make our own decisions. Cleanliness is next to godliness, as they say. The meaning of life, right on. That's totally easy. I would say the meaning of life is relative to every individual soul. I do truly believe that before we come into this, what we call life, that we have a contract or agreement or a fulfillment that we're going to carry out. And that is basically the meaning of life for that individual. To complete their soul contract and to fulfill their experiences and learn their lessons so they can move to a different echelon of life. Everything's life. It's just, at what level and where at and what density. And so I'd say it's just definitely relative. A lot of life is just for the experience itself. But I think for us, it's, raising our consciousness. And there's different ways and, just different paths each of us take to raise our consciousness. And so, all right. Hope that's a good one. What's your middle name? Can't tell you. I'm just kidding. It's Leon. Leon. French. My ethnicities are English, Irish, Dutch, Welsh, and German. So Leon's in one of those as far as the ethnicity of that. But yeah, I'm about as white as a white boy gets. Okay. Here's another one. How did the Morse camp think of Eric's teachings? Oh, they love that. It's like the missing link. It's like, what comes after detox? It's like, retox? Nah, you got to get right with yourself, and you got to figure out a way to ride that wave your entire life. This is a lifestyle change. A lot of us are in certain conditions to where we need really intense detox with like the juice fasting, the herbs, and whatever. But what about after you get, what about after the symptoms aren't showing anymore? Or we have to figure out a way to make this lifestyle work for us. And we have so much stuff going on. There's so much conditioning involved. Society. There's so many factors, and a lot of us can't just necessarily emotionally and mentally stick to, like, say, a mucusless raw foods diet or fruit diet or whatever you're looking for. And so the Mucusless Diet Healing System is a great way for people to permanently transition to a mucus-free life. The more I share it, the more people seem to get it and want to know more about it, because so many people are transitioning and not even knowing it. And so this just helps give guidance and basically creates like a visual path, and it gives information on what to do in certain circumstances when one's feeling one way or another. And so it's just really appropriate guidance for one trying to get right with themselves. Another one, your favorite mucusless salad combo and fruit. Well, my goodness. I love the butter lettuce. I love the spinach. So it's got oh man, there's so much good stuff. I really dig, so spinach and butter leaf lettuce with maybe some just like non-acidic tomato, some spiralized zucchini, some green onion,
alfalfa sprouts.
Yeah, I like alfalfa sprouts. I do like dulse too. Is a little bit of saltiness. Really great for your thyroid. I mean, so densely packed with minerals too. What else? I'm really just like not too picky. Maybe some diced, I already said non-acidic tomato. Maybe some, a little bit of cucumber, a little bit of red bell pepper. Pretty darn simple with like a mucusless sauce, like a red pepper sauce. Depending on what I'm feeling, I'll put those herbs in. But there's not just like one particular salad that I'm just like gung-ho for, and so it's all good. But the fruit, man, that might be even harder of a question. Man, these are the hard questions. Fruit, it's always changing. There's been times where like persimmons have been the fruit. Gosh, what are some other ones? Oh, sapodilla. Ooh. It's like it's different all the time, different points of the year. But seeded, just really ripe, well-grown watermelon is probably it though. Like the watermelon, if it's on point, it's really good. Mamey sapote, it's really dense, but it's a really tasty one. Can't have too much of it, just for me, just because it's like, whoa, it's pretty heavy. What are some other good fruits? Man, there's so many. So many. How do you deal with intense emotional eliminations? Well, in the past, it usually leads to binge eating or some mode of self-destructive behavior. In the beginning, before I got that under control. Now, a lot of it's laying down and resting and just totally surrendering physically, mentally, and emotionally, and just lying there, maybe out in the sun, maybe taking a sun bath, maybe just going and laying down. But now I try to focus on being as present with it as possible, and not like trying to take it one way or another, not trying to bring any positivity or negativity into it, just being completely neutral, not being like, I'm not sad, I don't have to be sad, I can be positive. And so no affirmations of negativity or positivity, just totally surrendering to it and almost trying to get into a meditative state, because what I've noticed is generally there's physical sensations that come along with it, like my heart will beat faster, or maybe just like body temperature fluctuation or different pains or pressures associated with it. But surrendering's it. What are your thoughts about ETs and reptilians? Reptilian ETs. Man, I've had some trippy experiences, especially in the dreamscape lately. ETs, I totally think that they are present among us, but maybe not necessarily how we believe they are. I think with people, not being in the driver's seat, not knowing who they are, these extraterrestrials or other humanoid entities can enter, drive their soul or their will into a different vessel and control it. So it's not like their physical body or their physical presence is around us, but more so their soul or their will is driving the force of people's, certain people's actions. I know that, like, in my dreams, I've definitely had some pretty intense experiences. My mom's ex-boyfriend said that he was a hybrid reptilian, and throughout the course of my life, I would be visited by extraterrestrials in the form of astral projection, like he said he was supposedly able to do. And every time that I have so-called experienced an extraterrestrial entity within my dreamscape, my mom's ex-boyfriend has always been there and always helped guide me through what's going on. He made a promise to me when I was young that he said he would always protect me in these certain situations. He has come through thus far. Lately, I've had some pretty intense ones, and it's always like that. It's definitely like a dark energy that's not very pleasant. But he's always been there for me to support me, and now I'm truly beginning to know that, like, there's nothing that'll happen to me. It's just my soul or my will in that set or setting in this less dense reality, and so it's not like physical harms can be brought to me. And I think, if there is somebody out there pulling the strings, I've read, oh man, I forget dude's name, but he wrote on like the Sumerian tablets and like the planet Nibiru with Enki and Allele, and it makes a lot of sense to me. I've read and researched a lot of different angles, but a lot of this stuff is linear as far as, we're essentially like a hybridized race, and then like the bloodlines, certain bloodlines in particular, like European bloodlines, are also a hybridized race that was put in place as kind of like the controlling race. They're also slaves themselves, and that there are outside forces driving a lot of the destructive practices that are carried out today. So it's like, I'm not like for show, but that's kind of where I feel that's going. How were babies made? How were babies made? I'm gonna let you guys use your imagination. What is mucus? What is the problem with food that isn't mucus free? There's a series of questions in this post, so or comment. What is the problem with foods that aren't mucus free? Well, they aren't complementary to our physiology, and anytime we put something in our mouth that isn't complementary, say meat or dairy, there's a reaction with the mucosal lining because it's an irritant, it's a stimulant, it's a poison or toxin. So this mucus is basically trying to protect your body from these, toxemias and stimulants, poisons, whatever you want to call them, from bleaching out and saturating your whole entire system. So that's where the mucus comes into play. It's the mucosal lining. Because these foods are also acidic, they're acid forming. We're alkaline beings. We want to put foods that are complementary to our physiology. If we're carbon based, then we need, alkaline foods. And so the problem is, cause and effect, human illness. So, the number one cause of human illness is by putting the wrong things in our front hole, our mind, and, the other environmental, circumstances that may happen. How long do crappy foods stay in your intestines? Up to your entire life. John Wayne died with 40 pounds of shit in his colon. So hope he enjoyed the burgers and the hot dogs and all the other crap he ate. Because the animals he was eating didn't enjoy it, and I'm sure he didn't enjoy it later on when he was trying to deal with all that. Your colon's the hub. Illness is going to stem from the hub. It's going to, there are nerves that radiate or come from the colon, travel all throughout your body. It's all interconnected. If you look at reflexology of the colon, it's like if you've got bowel pockets or plaque or parasites or whatever in certain areas of the colon, it's going to affect certain areas of the body. Does it usually sit in our small intestines or colon? Both. If it's, once the colon starts getting gnarly, it sticks pretty much everywhere. The majority of it, I'd probably say the colon, but there's still going to be a ton in our small intestines. I personally probably had 10 to 15 pounds, and I'm still eliminating. I eliminated worms last night, so it's a work in progress. I'm curious about the movement and why it's better than just going vegan. Well, going vegan is a label, and I'm not really a huge proponent of just putting labels on things because labels don't really solve any issues. They don't really explain anything. They don't really get anything done. We need to address, we really need to talk about specifically what's going on and what to do about it. And so that's what the Mucusless Diet Healing System's for. They actually address what is going on physiologically, how to reverse the illnesses or the different levels of constipation. And so, for example, somebody on a vegan diet might be eating tofurkey. They might be eating fake bacon or faking bacon, whatever you want to call it, or maybe they're eating tons of rice. Go look up what rice is good for on YouTube. Rice makes better glue than the Elmer's glue that you can purchase in the store.
Or diet cheese.
So, those are my thoughts. We want to eat foods that don't have a reaction with the mucosal lining, so we're not contributing to human illness. And human illness is on all levels. It's physical, it's mental, it's emotional. It's, it's going to kill our connection to all other forms of life. We lose touch with our senses. As John Rose says, the sixth sense, the intuition, is the lost sense. What started me in this direction? I was in such a deep place of suffering and I could find absolutely no help from any external sources, such as like the medical industry, whether it be the Neurospine Institute, chiropractor, massage therapists, body work, physical therapy. Absolutely nothing nothing was working until I changed the diet, until I changed what I was putting in my body. You know, do it. To who's asking these questions, dude, if you want to get a hold of me, I can help guide you, you know, with whatever you want to do. But man, if you were to do a 60-day juice fast with some enemas, bro, your perspective would take a 180. And you would, I mean, words cannot explain. But it's to each his own. You know, we're all on an individual path, so not all of us are ready for certain experiences yet, unless we got the willpower. But those are some really good questions. I really like those. But yeah, what got me going in this direction was just, honestly, I guess it started with kind of like a spiritual awakening in a sense, you could say. Or not, I'll be more specific, a self-realization. Realizing the true self from the false self, from, you know, true self from the ego. And man, it all was just like kind of you know, downstream from there. But yeah, just looking and searching and searching and searching and manifesting a way or information that I could use to help myself. Another question: how to detox and strengthen nerve rings on the iris. Strengthen nerve rings. Work on your adrenal glands. You know, take herbs to support your adrenal glands. Get a good night's rest. Don't overexert yourself. Take yourself out of extremely stressful situations. When you're always in a stressful situation, your adrenal glands are always going to be working. You're going to be in that fight or flight mode. And when you're constantly burning out your adrenals, which control your nervous system, you're not going to heal. You're not going to regenerate. I'd also like to have you talk about the stomach green, white versus dark. You know, the white might indicate, you know, an over-acidic stomach. The dark might indicate an under-acidic stomach. Or that's essentially what Bernard Jensen says in his book, his short book on iridology. Stomach ring. Different effects of the tinctures versus herbal teas. Tinctures are going to pack a punch. Herbal teas are going to be subtler. There's something you might sip on throughout the day. Tinctures you might take 3 times a day, you know, like 1 dropper full. The tinctures are generally more specific for certain organs, glands, or systems, like an endocrine balance or adrenal formula or kidney formula or pituitary. Whereas a lot of the herbal teas, like say like the Heal All tea that Morse has, it's just for your overall well-being, and it's just cellular proliferators, that help regenerate the system overall. But I mean, they can be very similar. I mean, you could have, you know, tinctures with the same herbs as the herbal teas, but they're just going to work at different rates, I'd say. You know, the tincture is more condensed, the herbal teas are more diluted. Healing crisis on the iris. Gosh. Like, I know for me, like a lot of the sulfur and the really old lymph, when I get into a healing crisis, it starts to lighten up. And then, you know, certain areas of my iris were just so gunked up, I just saw brown. And now, after going through some healing crises and some eliminations and working, you know, getting deep, the weaknesses start to show, like the specific weaknesses, like where the, what are they called? Lacunas are. So, like, I might have just seen just like brown gunk, and now I can see a lacuna, and then I can see like the eye fibers and how, you know, tightly they're woven together, which would represent my genetic constitution, and how much, you know, lymph is still within the system, like the newer, less old lymph. You know, the more acute's going to be lighter, and the more chronic or degenerative is going to be darker in the way of lymph stagnation and the fibers as well. Like if you have fibers that are like really tight together, you're going to have a stronger constitution than somebody that's going to have huge wide gaps and wavy fibers, and you can see just darkness underneath. That's more degenerative. I don't know if you have any knowledge on the subjects, choose them as you like. Cool. Yeah. I mean, and going back to like the tinctures and herbal teas, those are just like so specific and circumstantial that it's like depends on the herbal tea, depends on the tincture. What is the role of glandulars and when to use them? I would say in the very, very beginning of your detox, because a lot of us have been on so many stimulants for so long, especially like with the adrenal glands, that when somebody goes onto a juice fast, they instantly start to crash and lose energy. And so the glandulars are tissue specific. They are bovine, they're an animal product, but they're very like tissue specific. So they're like defibrillators on somebody that's dying in the ER. So they're really good short term. They're going to help you work through some of like the really intense weaknesses, but not really something that's going to be like long term, because they are a stimulant to some degree. Although they're stimulating your adrenal gland as a whole, and they're helping it work better. They're not just spiking it with toxins. Are they for supporting a function or gland on a temporary basis? Yes, they're for supporting a gland as a whole on a temporary basis. How is thyroid glandular different from prescription Armour thyroid? Prescription Armour thyroid. Thyroid glandular. I'm not sure what an Armour thyroid is. I know that a glandular is going to be real tissue, where medicine's synthetic. It's going to be more toxic to the system. It's going to be more of a stimulant and less supportive, whereas glandulars are going to be more supportive. Advice on selecting a good source since they're made from bovine animals. I would say the pure glandulars through Morse's clinic from New Zealand. They don't use any growth hormones or any weird stuff in them. Are we taking in animal energy? I mean, I'm sure we are. Everything has energy to some degree or another, so keep that in mind. Those were all the questions. I liked them. It was good. It was fun. So I hope you guys enjoy the video. I'll post it up. Keep the questions coming. Email me, dlb949@msn.com. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say, any feedbacks or comments. Like the video. If you like the video, if you don't. If you want to get a hold of me to work with me, please do. Open for business. Or just helping you guys. That's what I like to do. But anyways, Doug's Holistic Health Services on Facebook. I'll post my website below. That's it for now, guys. Take care. Peace. Oh, I think it's still going.